Hi, my name is Caroline Vandriel, and I'm going to show you the basics of counted cross stitch. We're going to be looking at what you're going to need to complete your project, how to read a pattern, and some basic methods to ensure great results. Now, I've been doing counted cross stitch since I've been about 10 years old, but counted cross stitch has been around for much longer, for centuries. The first printed pattern came out in 1525. And while it seems unlikely that a row of X's can turn into something absolutely beautiful, with the right combination of colors and careful attention to detail, you're going to come up with some great projects, making wonderful gifts for friends and family, or something that you'll be proud of to display in your home. So let's get started by looking at some of the things that you're going to need. Now, I made a list of things that you are to bring along to class today. If you could take those out, have them on your tables, and go through them as I'm displaying them up at the front. Thanks. First, let's take a look at the fabric you're going to use. Okay? Cross stitch is done on an even weave fabric. Okay? It comes in a variety of different colors and thread counts. A thread count is the number of threads per inch. The higher the thread count, the tighter the weave. And that makes it a little bit more difficult to see sometimes. So this is a very tight weave, higher thread count of 28. And what I asked you to bring along today was a piece of 14 count white Aida cloth. That's what we'll be working with. You're going to need a roll of masking tape, a set of embroidery hoops. Now, not everybody uses embroidery hoops, but I find that it's very helpful in maintaining the tension while you're working on something. So I'm going to be showing you how to use these today. Next, I asked you to bring along some embroidery floss. Now, I recommended that you use DMC. There are two basic brands out there, Anchor and DMC, but their color codes are different. So you're going to want to check with the pattern that you're using before you go out and make your purchases so you've got the right stuff. Now, some packaged kits come with the embroidery floss already cut for you. What you're going to have to do with that, though, is sort out the different colors into strands and card them. You're going to need a good pair of scissors that you're only using for embroidery so that no adhesives get on the scissors. And some embroidery needles. Now, it really doesn't matter what size you're using so long as the eye of the needle is not so big that it stretches the fabric as you're pulling your needle through, or that it's so small that you can't thread your needle. In that case, it might be wise to get a needle threader to help you out with that. Now, what I've provided for you today is a cross-stitch pattern. You should have one of these in front of you. Okay? Now, there are two types of cross-stitch pattern. There's the stamped cross-stitch, which comes printed right on the fabric itself, and you simply stitch over the markings on the fabric. Counted cross-stitch, however, comes with a printed pattern set on a grid made up of a whole bunch of different symbols representing the different colors and threads that you're going to be using. Okay? So let's take a careful look at our pattern, and I'll show you some of the distinguishing marks. You'll notice that on the grid, every 10 lines is a slightly darker line. Now, this is going to help you when it comes to counting your stitches, how many symbols are in a row. You'll also notice that halfway down each side, and in the middle of the top and the center, you're going to find arrows. And this is going to help you find the center of your pattern. Now, we work from the center of our pattern outwards so that when we're finished, we have a uniform edge of fabric left over all the way around, which is very helpful when it comes time to framing our piece. Now, each of these symbols represents a different color floss or a different stitch that you're going to use. If we take a look at the key down below, okay, we'll see that in this pattern, a red X is orange in 2 strands cross-stitch, while a blue X is gray-green 2 strands cross-stitch. Some of the other symbols indicate where you use a half cross-stitch or sometimes even a French knot. On the pattern itself, you're going to notice some darker lines in different colors. Here we've got blue, red, and black. Now, these lines are going to be done in back stitch, and the key will tell you which color line means which color thread you're going to use. And those are done after the rest of your cross stitch is complete, because the back stitch adds detailing and outline, and those threads lie over top of the cross stitch. So let's get started. The first thing you're going to want to do is take your masking tape, okay, and cut off 4 lengths. Don't use your scissors. You don't want adhesive on your good sewing scissors. Cut off 4 lengths of masking tape that you're going to fold over each side of your piece of fabric. This way, our fabric is not going to unravel while we're working on it. We're not going to get all those loose threads getting caught up in everything. Okay? So if you take a minute and do that on all 4 sides. Once you've completed that, take your embroidery hoop, unscrew the top from the bottom, put the bottom one, that's the one without the screw on it, down on the flat surface. Put the center of your piece of fabric down over top. Now, some people choose to baste colored threads across that they pull out when they're finished to help them locate to the center, and it helps them keep count. I tend to just eyeball the center of my fabric. So you lay the center of your fabric on the top of your bottom hoop. You take your top hoop, place it over top, and press down so that your fabric is sandwiched between the 2 hoops. And then tighten the screw. Once it's fairly tight, you're going to want to go around the edges and gently pull some of your fabric. Okay, so it becomes tight, but don't pull so hard that you're popping the hoop off. You also don't want to pull so tight that you're stretching the fabric. When you're finished, it should make a nice light drum sound. Now you've got a good working surface to begin your cross stitch on. So what we do next is we go to our pattern and we find the center of our pattern, going from the arrows top to bottom, side to side. Okay. And we look, what color thread are we going to start with? Now in the center of my pattern here, I have 5 blue hearts in a row. Okay? And a blue heart is dark green. So I get out dark green embroidery floss.